everyone, this is CJ Novo 992 and today is the day that we are finally back with episode 3 of the Rangers Review podcast. Now it is a Christmas special filled with Rangers and Tavs. Also somehow the Spice Girls. Now I don't know how that happened, but it did, ladies and gentlemen. It gets weird at one point. But before I hand over to the host Stevie from Four Lads Had a Dream, as always, as you're watching and listening to today's video, get involved with your opinions down there in the comment section below, because I'd love to see where you sit with everything we break down and discuss in this month's topic. So you know the script now, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for me to hand it over to Stevie. So sit back, get the feet up and enjoy talking Rangers things for the next hour.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Rangers Review. We're four well-kent Rangers fans from social media get together to look back on Rangers form. We will be worshipping James Tavernier and praise the fact that since we started this, we're really unbeaten. And there's also time for a laugh at the East End meltdown. My name is Stevie Clifford. I'm from Four Lads Had a Dream, and joining us is the Overlord, the main man from Heart&hand, Mr. David Edgar. David, how are you?
I'm grand. I mean, I'm surprisingly happy at the moment because, like most Rangers fans, you're sort of occasionally stomping and going, hang on, we're brilliant. And it's been a while since that happened.
It certainly has. And I mean, and Christmas time as well, David, which for me is basically like being on Prozac daily.
Yeah,
So
this is literally a holy time for you.
Oh, yeah. This is indeed. Also joining us, the wonderful CJ Novo. CJ, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, mate. How's yourself?
Smashing, mate.
I can tell.
I'm actually well this time, so I'm quite pleased. I'm quite happy. So
that's right. You had your arse hanging out you the last time you done this.
If you've ever seen the film Elf, Stevie gets like that from about October the 23rd. So by the time we hit this stage of December, then all bets are off.
Yeah, Elf with explosive diarrhea. Fantastic.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, there's an image.
Get some stencils out, Stevie, and you can do the house up as well. There you are.
I'm the host this week. This is out of order.
Sorry.
This is terrible banter. Tommy McIntyre from the wonderful This Is Ibrox joins us. Tommy, thanks for that intro, mate.
We're always happy to oblige. It's my second date. This is generally where it all goes wrong in my life anyway, historically speaking. So, but yeah, I'm the same as the other gentleman and yourself, which is in the midst of a global pandemic. It's not so much a silver lining as an absolute silver mine at the moment. That everything seems to be really positive. It's unnerving, I say.
So let's venture back to where we left it. And basically, when we left it last time, we were 9 points clear. 3 points if you include it. So they would have 2 games in hand. David, first up, Aberdeen was at home on the Sunday after a 4-0 for a 4-0 victory. Goals coming from Kent, Roof, James Tavernier and Scott Arfield. That extended the gap after Hibs done us a wee favour the day before, which we both enjoyed, which we were both texting each other during. That extended the gap, and that was a nice wee start to this run of form that we've been on.
Yeah, for me, the key thing about them, and I'm not going to focus too much on that, but after the Old Firm game, I think that all of us felt as Rangers fans, well, they've got 3 aways coming up, and if they take 9 points from those, they're right back in it. They could write off the Old Firm game as a blip and we can move on. But they didn't. They took 5. They dropped points in 2 of the 3 fixtures. And I think that gave the support a lift because it was different. It said to us, they're not what they've been before. But all of that means nothing if we can't take the bins out ourselves. Aberdeen, one of the things about Aberdeen is that if there is any sort of excuse, then from the manager down, they will grab it. And as soon as you heard of a couple of players out with COVID, I mean, the press conference was essentially, well, we're going to get beat. And that's always give thanks to God, Allah, whoever your God is, that Derek McInnes shat it. Because otherwise that might have been us. Can you imagine? I'm saying, well, Brandon Barker's injured, so you can't expect us to get 3 points. Rangers were terrific that day. I think we've developed this really excellent habit of putting the game to bed early, not letting teams that want to sit in and park the bus against is get to do that. And I think that one of the best things about this Rangers team at the moment is because we've developed different ways to hurt teams. I'm sure we'll talk about Alfredo and the kind of difference. Previously, if Alfredo wasn't scoring, we didn't score. I mean, really, Jermaine Defoe would chip in, but that was your lot, really. And teams knew that, and they could focus on him. Whereas now, Rangers are hurting you from so many different places. There's obviously Tav, there's Borna Barisic on the other wing, there's Kent. Even when he's not having his most electric games, he always contributes something because he never gives up, he never stops. And Kemar Roof, I think, is just a level above most players in Scotland. He plays in places defences don't want him to play, and he pops up in places that defenders are uncomfortable. So teams who previously could have had a well-organised set of two banks of, five really, but certainly a 5 and a 4, that doesn't work as well now because Rangers drag you all over the place, and eventually the pressure tells. And that game, you saw that in Aberdeen, were put to bed quite quickly. And in the end, Rangers, I think, declared at 4-0 after an hour because we had a big European game coming up.
CJ, what I like about this Rangers team and what was also evident in the Aberdeen game is that when we get into the position where, we're maybe 1-0, 2-0 up and the next goal is key, what actually happens is we go out and get 2 or 3. Now, at half-time in that game, the next goal was vital, and we very quickly put that game to bed. Yeah. Has that impressed you this season?
Definitely. I just feel like the standards never seem to drop, or we never seem to rest on our laurels. And I think that's coming right for Gerrard when he sort of walked in the door. That's what he talked about, a ruthless Rangers team. And I think after years we've finally got that because we never seem satisfied until the game's literally done and dusty. And I just like the way we go about it. It's almost like he's gone out there in the second half and saying it's 0-0, go out there and win it again. Because there's no difference for the start of the game to the start of the second half now. And that was something that was very hurtful over the last couple of years. We'd normally have either a good second half or a good first half. We never had both. But now we have. We've put that together, and that's why we're at.
Tommy, what impressed you most about the Aberdeen game? Obviously, we had a wee bit of pressure. There was the questions of whether we could take advantage of what happened before, but they certainly answered those questions.
Well, I think that's probably a key point, and the guys have touched on it as well. So if you talk about it from an in-game perspective, it's that relentless pressure that CJ's just spoken about, or David talking about the consistent rotation of movement, pulling teams into places they don't want to defend where they're not particularly good at doing it, and then exploiting those gaps. Some of these things are new components for Rangers as well. And then you look at the kind of macro level, so to speak, or you raise it up and you say, well, actually Rangers taking advantage for once of a slip up by somebody else. This is kind of news as well. Those two component parts coming together are probably the themes for me there, and what I was really, really enjoying seeing. I mean, in terms of looking at the way that Rangers set up, I think we all know now that we're a bit of I was trying to think of a decent analogy for it in terms of what CJ was just saying there as well. It's relentless pressure, but it's done in a managed way. So we are not chasing the ball about and just trying to get more and more goals. We are saying, okay, what can we do to just play within ourselves if we've got a win here or whatever. We're a serial killer. We're not on our killing spree. There we are, right? I've started really early, obviously, on this one. But by that I mean, we are going after targets. We know exactly what we're trying to do. We're not just looking to get lucky or chasing more goals and everybody moving out of their positions. This is what really satisfies me about this Rangers team. And just to go back to your original question there, Stevie, because I've kind of trailed it out a bit, it's the fact that we went to Aberdeen, which has been a difficult place for us in the past, where, much like I was mentioning about Kilmarnock last month, we've fallen into some traps. We didn't do that this time. Relentless pressure, taking advantage of your rival slip-ups and getting out the door with a good performance. You tick those 3 boxes, you're in amongst the Brasso conversation come the end of the season.
Tommy, last time you were on, you mentioned players having affairs with their wives. This time it's serial killers. I've got no idea where this is going. I'm loving this. I mean, where do you take it next? But David, keeping with the league form, we go back to last week and we make a journey up to Dingwall, which you left for, I think, on the Tuesday.
Yeah.
And you know, we were first to go in this game, and team were excellent. Talk us through it.
Yeah, there was never really any doubt about it because I go on this a lot. Teams carry themselves in a certain way, and I think it shows you it's instructive about how they're going to end up. And a recent non-Rangers example to me is the difference in Liverpool after they won the Champions League domestically. I mean, that they never they just looked like they believed. Yeah. And Rangers have developed something of that this season where they just look like we are going to beat you because we know if we do our thing, we're going to beat you. And eventually you have to guard against that turning into complacency. But I think we're a long way off that at the moment. I think, you know, we're seeing it the other side of the city, and that's what's caused their issues. This team at the moment are enjoying that first flush of that. And, you know, Ross County were decent. I mean, they were coming off a huge result, let's be honest.
Yeah,
and they were flying after, you know, a big result, and they really believed that their game plan the previous week, if they executed it, could get them something at home. And also they had 300 fans in, and I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but it makes a difference. Mm-hmm. And it was a big day for the local community as well because fans were getting in. But, you know, their defensive organisation was superb. I thought for the first half an hour, but you knew how hard they were having to work just to, you know, keep afloat. And eventually you're gonna tire and you're gonna sink, and that's exactly what happened to them. A superb ball from Stephen Davis, it was. I mean, we're gonna sit here with a lot of things that were stonerific, but I think that there's one of them. I mean, a superb ball. Of course, who would be there? Tav. What I loved about that move was Tav is watch before Davis even gets the ball. Tav gets on his bike and he points where he wants the ball. And that's two things. One, that's seeing a move open up through, and Ruth goes at that point. That's good coaching. That's organisation. But also that's faith in your teammate that he's going to find you with that pass. And that's important as well. And afterwards, we then just ran over the top of them in the second half. And there was that sort of acceptance from Ross County that we're probably going to get battered today. Rangers have not had that in years. Celtic have had that for a number of years, and they're losing it right now. And that makes such a difference because if teams think, if you're a big game for a team, and we always are, no matter what state we're in, if they think, yeah, but we can get something today, then they're 100%, 90 minutes. It's tough. It's tougher than usual to get a victory. Whereas if they're kind of half beaten in the tunnel, I suppose, then that gives you an advantage. But you only get to that point by consistently handing out routine hammerings. And Rangers that day were fantastic. And to CJ's point, a minute to go or whatever, Cedric Itten, substitute, goes chasing a lost cause, wins the ball in the corner, sets up Jermaine Defoe for a goal. Just that little passage of play made me really happy because I thought that spoke volumes for the sort of attitude that permeates the whole squad.
Yeah, Tommy, before I'll come to CJ in a wee second, but Tommy, David makes an excellent point there. See, when you're getting guys like Cedric Itten, who's coming on when the game's basically dead at that point, but given so much, his attitude looks so good. He looks like he's smiling and happy. He's playing out of position as well. That's got to be a good sign. It's got to speak volumes for what we're doing at the moment.
It is, and I think we've spoken previously, and I know you guys hold the same opinion that it's permeated throughout the entire squad. You know, everybody knows what the vision is. Everybody's bought into it, so that goes down to, you know, Steven Gerrard and his management group as well. The players understand that there's going to be rotation. Not everybody can start. They've been sold on that before they come in the door. And then you look at people like Cedric. I'll go with Eaton and Itten just to play the numbers here. I'm not sure my Swiss accent will hold up to that. But so if I go with Cedric, he's coming off the bench in a good place because we're a winning team. We're going in the right direction. Everybody will get minutes in their legs, and the management group are explaining that to him. And then they also need to come off the bench and take their opportunity. So he comes off, he's in a good place, does his hard running, does his aggressive running, wins the ball, lays it off to Jermaine Defoe as well. And there's probably just a little capstone at the back of that, which is how pleasing it must be for the management group, for Steven Gerrard, because I know all is for us as well as fans, that not only do you have a senior professional in Jermaine Defoe who's been there and done it, who comes off the bench and just gets goals, right? The ball just he knows the movement in the box and he's the best finisher at the club, so he sticks one away immediately. But also being able to point to him and seeing other younger players of the squad and the reserves, etc., to see a player of that stature know that he's not going to start every week, not being a background noise undermining squad harmony, but saying, no problem, boss. I'll be ready when you call on me, whenever that is. I'll continue to work hard and show the professionalism, look after my body and my conditioning. I'll be in the gym. I'll be round about the squad for discussions with the younger players. I'll be doing Zoom calls about finishing for those younger players as well. If you lead all that out, that's a great way to set expectations and that quality standard within the squad as well. Because if Jermaine Defoe's keeping his mouth shut and working hard, then I expect all the rest of you to do it as well. And that's a really nice capstone to that story as well.
CJ, a couple of other things happened that day. One was quite ugly in the fact that there was a challenge on Alfredo just on the stroke of half time, which led to has now been an investigation from Ross County, which they have cleared their own player Michael Gardine of making a comment, which we'll not spend too much time on. But the reaction of our players was something that pleased me in a way that they were all standing up for Alfredo and that there is a real team unity there. But something else also happened afterwards. We extended our lead to 14 points. And I think most of us would probably have thought St Johnstone at home, they're bound to take 3 points in that game. But they never. And it was another joyful Sunday afternoon for us all.
Yeah, it was, mate. And there's a lot of things that actually happened in that Ross County game, and a lot of points. And one of the other things about it, actually, just before we speak about us obviously stretching the lead, is we've got a guy in the sticks that makes an unbelievable save, because they only had one shot on target, but it came before we scored any goals when they were sort of cut inside Balogun, and it's a phenomenal save, and then we end up scoring and taking the lead 60 seconds after that save. And I just feel like with everyone getting plaudits, like Arfield, rightly so, Tavernier just being the best player in Scotland, I think sometimes McGregor gets overlooked, but that save right there was absolutely huge in the game, and it gave us a platform. So I just wanted to give him a wee shout as well. But everyone's kind of sort of nailing it. The togetherness in this team right now is absolutely frightening. Everybody's celebrating with each other. There's nobody walking back, getting involved. When one person scores, the team's celebrating. You talked about that incident there that, again, we're not going to dwell too much on, but the way everybody stuck together and backed each other, and you could see them all walking off with each other. And I just liked the attitude, the way Rangers came out. They didn't lose their head. They weren't overly frustrated. They didn't lose their discipline. They went, right, we're going to come out and absolutely pump yous now as a team. And that's what they did in the game of football. And I think that is the main difference between what's happening here and then elsewhere, is the teams bolt into the one idea. Hell, you're seeing guys like Jermaine Defoe track back, and I've seen him block a cross at the left-back position this year. That's mental. But everyone is buying into this idea, working for each other, and that's the main difference. There's a real team here, and there's no egos, there's nobody sulking that they're not getting in. When the day come on, everyone's attitude's spot on. As David mentioned earlier, big Cedric coming on the park. I thought Hadji's mindset was absolutely spot on as well. He was unlucky with a free kick, and that's just ruined the entire squad. And there's a real Rangers team there, and it's the first time that's been there in God knows how long.
So that little bonus, David, of St Johnstone obviously took the gap to 13. And we come to yesterday's match with Dundee United, the final kind of league match that we'll look at. They would have penned that down, as you said yesterday, as a wee potential blip for us. Seen the team play better, but days like yesterday are the ones that bring good things at the end of seasons.
I think it's a testament to the side that something I haven't seen, and to be honest, hadn't thought of myself really until this morning, was we were away in Europe on Thursday. And then 12 o'clock kickoff on the Sunday, away to a team that hate us. And we went and we picked up the points. And because we're playing so well, I don't think that there was the kind of, if you like, apprehension before we went into the match that people mentioned that as a factor. It didn't occur to us because that's how well the side have been doing. But it still is significant, I think. The early kickoff away against a side that, as we saw, were going to be wholly committed in the match. And over the years, really successful Rangers teams have found Tannadice a wee bit of a graveyard at times. Walter was never the most comfortable there. There were plenty of victories, but there were plenty of shockers as well, Souness as well. So for me, that's an aspect that I found very pleasing. Also, and this might sound a bit daft, and certainly didn't feel it at the time, but the day after, what happens if we get pegged back?
Yeah.
That, because we haven't been conceding goals, will we react? Yeah, we did, right? We didn't panic. We didn't allow United to have 10 minutes of pressure. And Rangers teams, even last season, if we conceded a goal, and even slightly at Hibs this year, if we conceded a goal, it took us 10 minutes really to get our shit back together. And that didn't happen yesterday. And although it was narrow in the end because, 2-1 obviously, in the second half, Rangers utterly dominated that match. I watched it back again this morning with the palpitations. And I have to say that I thought the second half performance, Dundee United didn't have a shot. They really didn't. The last 10 minutes, Dundee United tried the big lad up front and just shell the ball in. It's not pretty, but it can be effective. It asks you questions. But they couldn't get the ball to do that. They couldn't shell it in. They couldn't put us under that pressure because they couldn't get the ball, because Rangers just very, very cleverly, very compactly kept it and played out the remaining minutes fairly straightforwardly. Yes, it would have been lovely to go and get 4 or 5, and on another day I think we probably would have. I think Alfie, obviously, probably something we're going to talk about, didn't have his best day. The Arfield one hitting the post, on another day it hits the keeper and rolls in. And I think that the team almost sort of, with about 10 minutes left, went, right, okay, looks like we're having one of those halves in front of goal, we're not conceding. And they saw that through. And I think that, as I say, it was a common thing last year, but even against Hibs earlier this year, there was an element of it. And to me, I take from that, it's a side who are learning after each match. Livingston earlier in the season, I think, might prove to be a pivotal game for us, because, look, Hibs are a good side and they're playing well. You can draw at Easter Road when they are, I think, undoubtedly the third best team in the country at the moment and on an upswing. So, although we're all gutted and we should have won, it's not an end of the world result. Livy was a bad one because we would always expect to beat them pitch or not pitch, and the manner of that performance. But to me, that seems to have signalled a change from the management team, where the handbrake has come off. And I think that the emergence of Scott Arfield during that period has been huge. He has delivered on a level that he probably hadn't in his whole time at Rangers, really, but certainly not last season. And I think that the attitude has been from the management team of, we are going to go out and we are going to take games by the scruff of the neck. We're not going to worry about getting countered on and getting hit on as much as we used to when we would always have the two defensive midfielders. Arfield will do you a shift as well, but he's a more attacking player. And I think that the side showed yesterday that even recent lessons have been learned. And I'm a big one for, I keep mentioning this, but it's because I think it's valid. Overcoming these little challenges, every time you tick one off, it builds that character and it builds that strength.
Tommy, David makes a point there about the team kind of evolving and the management taking the handbrake off. But for me, the substitutes, when you're bringing on the likes of Zungu and stuff, I think the management are learning in terms of, he's obviously a much more defensive player. And he made a couple of good clearances and interceptions as well. So it's a valuable kind of point to say that the management are evolving, even from, as David said, that Livingston game.
Absolutely, and it's a fair synopsis by David there that covered the bases. I think honesty. All conversations tend to come back to quality of squad and the iterative nature of building success. If you want, for a bit of a better clunky phrase, I think the key points I always take away with that type of thing, and you're right, Stevie, in terms of being able to turn to the bench and bring on somebody like Zungu, who looks like a clever player as well, which I'm always looking for, a player who doesn't have to rely on speed to get them out of trouble, or bullies people out, and like, can they place their body in the right place so they can read the game? And he certainly seems to be in that mould as well, whilst also having the technical aspects. But it's the fact that, to hit that phrase again, I think it is an iterative process, not just for the management team, but the players on the park, that they are now fully understanding that when you get into games, and David's referenced, Hibs, Livingston. I would reference some games from the previous 2 seasons as well, whereby we're not panicking if it's not going our way. So we don't then start launching it into the box a wee bit deeper, Tav try to cross from the halfway line or something like that. And that's not me having a pop at James Tavernier, by the way, because I would expect to be dragged off this podcast by everybody. But we aren't panicking as well. The philosophy is obviously stuck and the vision is stuck to the players. No, it's fine. It can be a turgid game or you can get pegged back level. Just keep playing the ball, keep making them rotate, keep making them think, because they are not as good as you. You can move the ball quicker, you can exploit the spaces when they come up. As Graham Souness says, find the dummy type of scenario. And we're constantly doing that. I think it's, although we all wax lyrical about the side, and same as David, go back and you watch games and stuff, the absolute continued rotation of our players front to middle must be baffling for teams and absolutely stretching their level for capacity, particularly when you look at some of the players in our leagues, for example. But we do this in a European stage as well. And we are continually doing that and probing them away, and ultimately you get your chances. And again, as David has said, if we look at the Dundee United game specifically in this example, yeah, it was a bit turgid. Dundee United got their goal. We could have done better defending, both sides of the flanks. In all honesty, I'm still not entirely convinced Liam Smith is trying to finish that. I thought he was trying to pull it back into the 6-yard line, but I'm willing to take challenge on that. And he looked a bit sheepish when he was celebrating. But, we got ourselves back into it and we said, that's fine. Let's just keep playing away at them and we'll ultimately unlock them as well, whilst creating a host of chances that we missed. So it wasn't a great game and it finished 2-1 and it was a wee bit sticky. But actually, if Rangers take any of those chances that they made, you've got Kmart Roof not being able to get the header, you've got Arfield hitting the post, stuff David's already spoken about there, and Alfie having another day off, then that game becomes really simple and a lot easier. The fact of the matter is, Rangers are suffocating teams, and in that second half, I was reminded of, and I can't remember the player's name, but it was Rapid Vienna player last season, where after the game at Ibrox, they said, Rangers don't let you breathe. And I'm absolutely certain, even though it was a 2-1 scoreline, a hell of a lot of those Dundee United players, certainly their defence, would have said the exact same. It's continual movement, and ultimately it's 3 points in the bag. It's another rung on the ladder towards a championship.
Sorry to just cut in, Stephen. Something else from the game as well is our set piece, both attacking and defensively. That's something that's been heavily spoke up by Gerrard and McAllister whenever they've been doing their press conferences. And I think even in the 90, I think they had the free kick in the last minute. And how high our defensive line was and the discipline to keep that line not to let anybody run in behind was phenomenal, because we were just like, no, you're not getting in our box, you're not getting a free cross, you're going to have to do something special. And all it was a floated cross. The guys had to jump pretty much at the edge of the box and try and generate enough power on the header for that angle. And I just thought that right there just showed everything, because how many times have we seen us sitting in there, we give up some or rebounds in the past, but no, we were sat outside that box and we were like, no, we're keeping that line, and everyone bought into it, and that just really, really impressed me. Not only did we score a set piece, but last minute, last gasp, everyone's concentration was on point.
It's a good point.
That's confidence. That's confidence, because previously what we would have done, and we've seen this, is everybody would have been backdropped on the penalty spot. And you're right, and the amount of times that they're not just us, that any football you watch, that teams that do that, you almost invite the opposition, I think. That you kind of suggest that you're a bit worried, and it's amazing in football, you'll make your own luck, all that kind of stuff, that it does drop to one of them. Whereas you're right, what we said to them is, you've got to do something exceptional here. Somebody's got to either time a run, or you've got to deliver a worldie of a cross, and neither happened, and the boy got the header from about 20 yards, and it ran straight through to Alan McGregor, and that was it, job done. And again, that's confidence, and I think that stems, from Goldson, from Tav, very much the leaders on the field. Certainly, Tav overall, but Goldson at the back, and just saying to them, we're not dropping in there, we're not panicking, we're not sitting in. The only team that I think have forced us out of our rhythm was the last 15 at home against Benfica. I thought Benfica were fortunate to get a draw in Portugal. I don't think they were at Ibrox, even though we were 2-0 up. And people, initially were quite angry afterwards, and I wasn't so much disappointed, but not angry, because they moved us about the way we move domestic sides about. And that's okay, because the money they've spent, the level of player they have, they're going to do that. What we need to do to compete against sides like that is work hard, make sure we're not making mistakes, etc. But that's the first time a team has made our defence and our home side, look buggered in a match, because they just shifted the ball so quickly, so often, that eventually they wore us down. And that'll happen when you meet, real quality, and it'll happen to, Benfica when they meet a side of high quality, etc., etc. But domestically, Rangers are, I think, imposing the fact that we have better players on other sides, and that is an enormous part, I think, of the continued success.
Yeah, just to bookend that, because I think it's a key point, actually, and I think it speaks to the narrative that we are quite rightly constantly talking about Rangers, and the fact that we've got the players to unlock. And I agree with you, David, about that last 15 minutes in Benfica, against Benfica as well. I think it's the only time we've genuinely looked unruffled. Ruffled, I should say. But we're always talking about we have the players to unlock these low blocks or these packed defences, and teams making us work, and we have to do all the thinking. But the flip side of that, and I think David maybe slightly referenced this as well when he was talking about teams being beaten in the dressing room, or beaten in the tunnel, or beaten on the coach, or beaten in their own houses, or whatever, right? Is the fact that we are quite confidently saying to them, and it speaks to CJ's point as well, we've got a better keeper than you, we've got a better unit of a defence to you, we've got better midfield and we're better up front. Okay, you ask us questions. And by and large, these Scottish teams, domestic teams, and a lot of European teams that we've come up against so far as well, haven't been able to unlock us. It's just a slight lens change in terms of, yes, we've got difficult questions to answer game in game, but the questions that we are posing to these teams, so far, nobody has been able to find real answers, apart from, as David quite rightly referenced, the 15 minutes against Benfica. But we are a really, really good side that play really good football, but also have all the tools to lock other teams out, and that's a pretty good mix.
Yeah, and when we don't open the doors and we can't beat the low block, we've also got guys like Tavernier that can hit 35-yard free kicks and put it in the top bin.
I'll take one of them every day of the week, to be honest.
Can I just ask, has anybody ever seen a better free kick?
Well, I was going to come to, because I think that Tav deserves a whole section himself.
Yeah, I think yesterday was one of those moments where there's a wee split second between the ball hitting the net and your reaction, because you're sort of like, I need to check that what I think I saw. And it would have been great if there'd been a crowd in, because I think you would have had that nanosecond where everybody goes, has he fucking scored that? Because it really was. I mean, for me, it's the other one, the one everybody references, and understandably was the Roberto Carlos one. But if you actually watch, there's a brilliant image of it from behind the other goal, I think, but behind Tav. Look what the height of the ball at its highest. It must be about 15 feet above the crossbar, and he somehow managed to get it up there and down at the exact moment, in behind the keeper. Dundee United is a 6'3" goalie who's quite athletic. They could have had three of them, and they wouldn't have got to that.
He hit the ball that high that Connolly, who was in the water, actually is walking forward, doesn't even look back, because he's like, he's ballooned that out of the bar. And that's the best thing about it. I don't know if I've noticed this yourself, but when you watch the replay, Connolly is walking forward saying, Tavs blew that out of the bar. And then he turns round, because everyone's celebrating. It's like, what the just happened? And that's incredible.
It was, he'd given it up, because, I mean, the was heading into the middle of fucking Dens Park. And then all of a sudden it just gets this. But the best thing about it was he put it exactly where he wanted to put it. And that thing about, I'll never hit another free kick like that in his puff, I wouldn't bet against it.
Yeah, he's certainly got the technique for it, and it's no bad thing you see Steven Gerrard saying, well, that's world class technique. It's, I think, for me as well, in that video you're talking about as well, CJ, I think Borna Barisic's mouth is hanging open as well, standing next to him. Yeah. But it's the fact that he gets it up and over the wall, right? And like you say, it goes way high and it comes down, but he's not floated it in. It's not as if the keeper's shuffled across and not got to it. It's hit with a fair amount of pace as well. I'm quite jealous, actually. I'm going to stop there. I just wish I had that technique just once. I would settle for one of them and one in my life to hit a free kick like that. But you wouldn't bet against Tav doing it another couple of times this season.
See, to be honest, I'd settle for even being able to get the ball off the ground, but that's another. It would be a miss of us, CJ, and I'll just come to you with this. The League Cup, we went away to Falkirk, a very much changed squad. Defoe, Bassey, a lovely Borna free kick, and then a brilliant Tav volley at the back post to win 4-0. And that was significant because, obviously we're going for our first trophy in February. You get the feeling that if we could nail one, then it might, give this team even more added belief. And if you add that to what we're doing at the moment, it might just be unstoppable. But for other reasons as well, that weekend turned out to be extremely joyful also.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that was the thing. Before the even game, we had saw pretty much everyone just get beat. I mean, there was cup shock after cup shock after cup shock. But even after all these dominoes were falling, early shot with Aberdeen, Motherwell, and obviously Celtic, not once did I even think for one split second that could happen to us. And that's just the belief that I've got in this team. And you just saw it. I think we hit the bar within 50 seconds of that game, went in and tried to do a cross for Defoe, and it was just relentless. And I feel like Falkirk, if I'm being honest, actually gave us a better game of football than the majority of the teams in the SPFL. They actually got the ball down and tried to play a wee bit of football, but you could see when we wanted to turn it on, we really turned the screw. And again, you kind of mentioned it a minute ago there, Stevie. Again, another set piece for Borna. Fantastic free kick. We scored from Bassey, another set piece with the corner. We're absolutely killing teams for all different ways. So if you block Tavernier, if you block Barisic, well, we've got this guy that can step up. We've got set pieces now. And I just thought that was a good wee show for boys that was coming in, getting the games, but again, showing the standards didn't drop because we still scored the same types of goals as we would no matter who was starting.
Yeah, I think what was also special about that day, CJ, was that we seen performances from Leon King and Kieran Dixon as well. And I commented and done a blog very next day that for me it was a very special moment because it's like an additional thing for the club that after so many years of the youth development being deprived and not looked after, after 2015 when King came in and things and they invested in it again, they've turned that around to the point where 5 years later, we're now bringing these guys through and in. And for me, it just kind of represented that we're back on the right track. Both these boys look extremely talented.
Absolutely, and there'd have been another one starting if it wasn't obviously for an incident with Scotland under 21s with young Patterson. He'd have been starting that game as well. So you're looking at that Rangers team now, and there's a real path there for these youth players to make it in the first team. Gerrard's made that clear. If you work hard, you then start believing your own buzz, you keep your head down, you keep working, he will give you opportunities. And I thought the two young lads, and I like the fact that Dixon, by the way, was wearing number 55. Well played, son. I like the fact that they came on there and they grabbed their opportunity because to me, none of them put a foot wrong. And even Glenn Middleton, who a lot of people was actually overlooking, he was playing left back, and the lad nearly created an opportunity with his first touch as well. And I just like the fact that these players are coming in with the belief. You can clearly see everyone wants to work hard and everyone's not saying, oh, this is just a youth player, we'll just sort of run it. Now, people were still making runs for King, still making runs for Dixon, and I just like that. Everyone seems to be working hard for each other.
Yeah, it was definitely a good day, and very much what I liked about it was very much routine, and made it look routine, and I think that just kind of, shows where we are as a team. But moving on, I'll just, I'm going to throw this out to everyone as well. Europe, we had Benfica, 2-2, Standard Liège, a brilliant 3-2 victory, and then we went to Lech and won 2-0, ending, a fantastic group stage. And we're now, first time since 92-93 that we went unbeaten in a group stage. Highest points tally, I think, ever in a group stage as well.
Yep.
Throw this out to you boys, whoever wants to jump in with this one. I mean, Europe, it really has been a fantastic campaign. When you factor in as well, went to Holland and dubbed Willem 4-0, which gets overlooked, in my opinion, far too much. Then we beat Galatasaray. To go and put the results together in Europe, not only financially, but the way we've done it, and albeit, Benfica kind of rocked us, and we were looking pretty twice, but I'm not going to complain about that, which may shock you. I'm just overwhelmed, in terms of Europe, I've not been this happy with a Rangers team since, 1996, when a certain girl band were storming the world.
Oh my God! How
Anyway,
I wondered how that would. I did wonder, but
It's
credit where it's
snuck in under
due.
the
I didn't
door.
see it coming.
David-
Didn't see it coming.
He's
David-
got that one up and over the wall quite well there,
Right,
and
yep.
it snuck into the top corner.
Oh.
David, jump in, talk to us about Europe.
I thought you were going to say jump and talk to me about the Spice Girls.
That's what I was going to say.
It's going to go, 5-3-1-4-2. Look, Europe to people my age
I'm still laughing at that, by the way, David, to be honest.
it's been one of them. Yeah, I'm still shocked. I'm still kind of sick. Burst into song. I think that Europe to people my age has been such a relentless kick in the stones. No matter how good Rangers were on paper going into it, we always were made to. Man, you just felt like hillbillies when you got into Europe because you thought you were so great and cosmopolitan, and we'd come up against these sides and it'd be like, wow, we've got a long way to go. Because Scottish teams, not just Rangers, but Scottish teams in general, treated the ball like the way Celtic fans treat barriers. We just couldn't wait to get rid of it. And I think that in this iteration of the to steal a word or iteration, I suppose. That's I like that, right? A bit of foreshadowing earlier. I think that it's the manner in which we do it, because we don't go out and play. You always get this, don't you, from managers in Europe? Or there'll be a very physical, aggressive side. And well, we'll be aggressive, but if you're expecting us to, long balls and elbows, that ain't us. And we get the ball down and we play it and we pass it and we play it at tight spaces and we're confident. We've got faith in our teammates. That's something that Scottish teams have lacked for years, which is, well, he's got a guy on him, I can't pass him. Sometimes you have to. Sometimes you've got to do that risk reward. The goal against Galatasaray, I think, is the key indicator of that. That if you want to make things happen against top level opposition, safety first isn't going to get you anywhere. And I think that within the European group, the fact that Rangers could make 7 changes to the side, go away in Europe to Poland, not easy, and win. And we all knew they were going to win. We were all extremely confident we were going to win. And we did so very straightforward manner. That's new. Even to me, even somebody that's been about for 35 years, maybe older bears don't quite have that, but that's new to me to be able to do that, because I can't think of any Rangers side that would have really been able to do that in the past. And I think a great deal of it is the manner in which we play and the style in which we play. Now, we've said before, I think collectively as a support, that we're better set for Europe than we are domestically. And maybe it has taken us a wee bit longer to translate the skills that we have in Europe into this quirky, strange wee league of ours. But I think in Europe that the side, they don't fear anyone, because if it's a side on our level, we think we'll be better than them. And if it's a side on paper slightly above our level, we think we'll outwork them and put the challenge to them. And that's a really healthy attitude. And it's not an attitude that's been prevalent in my time supporting Rangers.
I think that's I really agree with that. And I was just thinking back, for every, I still burned in my mind, I've maybe got a Unarea Ursiceni or an AEK Athens buried in there somewhere that, I'm not going to kind of touch on them too much, but if you cycle forward then and you get to where we are right now, and David was picking up the threads there, you've got, it's not just the performances, it's the, I'm back to the same words I think, but it's the consistency of the performances. So we're not talking here about, Rangers had a good result over 2 legs against a decent Galatasaray team, or they had a good result against Willem II or anything like that. Actually now, within the Steven Gerrard catalogue, European catalogue, you've got consistently being able to match up with teams who are in slightly richer leagues, or have got better squads on paper, or whatever that looks like. I mean, I think you've got, Portugal, the 9th highest TV deal in Europe, Belgium 10, Poland 15, so there's the current group that were dealt with as well, and I think Scotland sits in there at 19th. But the point I'm making there is you've got a book there of consistency, of saying, well, we go into Europe now and play these teams off the park, or get right in amongst them, or it's tight games, but we score, we keep it decent, and we aren't lumping the ball forward. We aren't being that, stereotypically aggressive British team that David was referencing quite rightly there. We are unlocking them and then putting the challenge down to them of, okay, let's play football. Let's do that cliche. Okay, you're a European footballing team. Let's go toe to toe with that because we've got the ability to do all this. And never out with of the season, obviously you were referencing there, Stevie, have I seen a Rangers team being able to consistently go to the continent and come back with points and results, but also performances where we're not saying, oh, that was a smash and grab. Oh, we got out of there. Very rarely, if at all, can I really think of that over the Steven Gerrard era, where it's been really backs to the wall and we've got away with something. And it's had a diametric effect on the Scottish standings of European coefficiency as well, which I'm sure the whole of Scotland and all the subsequent supporters of our teams thank us for. But it's that part for me. We are now in a position whereby we aren't complacent because there will be blips, there will be challenges. We have a really good example of that in Bayer Leverkusen, who I think by and large played us off the park over two legs, if I was being brutally honest about it. But for lots of other teams, we are a real cause for concern if our name comes out in the draw next to them.
CJ, plenty of zigga to that European performance.
Aye, mate, we definitely spiced up the life.
That was just.
Oh God Almighty!
I only know two become one in Mama now, so I don't know how I'm going to play this.
I'll just say, who do you think you are?
Oh, damn it!
CJ, say you'll be mine and talk us through the European campaign.
Nobody's going to beat him at this. Even if the three of us could combine, one of us could go and Google and we'd still lose because he knows like B-sides and shit.
You could do Viva forever. It would just be fun.
I'm not even taking part. I want that to be a part of this recording. I am not taking part in this. Consciously not taking part.
To kind of touch on basically what you said there, it's just such a great thing to have so much respect for European teams, because we're now seeing European teams not come in and swan it about and just say, we're going to win that game easily. No, they're adjusting and changing how they play, how they set up to stop and nullify us. And that's the biggest job Gerrard's done. He's got respect back to your name at the international level and European level. And just like Tommy was saying there, nobody will really look at Rangers and say, oh, that's an easy draw. They would have years ago, but no. And that's the biggest thing I can take away. The respect that's on our club's name at a European level is frightening.
We were actually worse than we should be for decades in Europe. Not only was it not that we didn't punch our weight, we were well below that. And I was going to say it's easy to laugh at Celtic, but then it was easy to shoot Bambi's mum and it never stopped at Hunters. So that's exactly
Does that Tommy help you?
That's exactly what hey, if you want to go and shoot Baby Deer, that's your business. They're in that exact position. They're in that exact area that they cannot, that's not the wage bill they have in European performance. That's not the ambitions that they have. It's not the level that they should be at. Whereas we've been the opposite. And now the most, I think, edifying part of this season is that the domestic form is catching up with that, where Rangers had underperformed domestically under Gerrard. That is what's different this season. European, they've maintained, they've developed, they've got better because, as we said, year one we got to group stage, year two we came second and got out of the group stage, year three we won the group and came through undefeated with a record points total. So that has gone maybe the way you would hope it would do, which is steady progression. Domestically, we've hit the same buffers over and over again, but it appears that they have finally found a way to translate the confidence and the ability that they have in Europe. Put it this way, can anybody imagine Ryan Kent saying something like, we find Europe easier because there's too much pressure on us domestically? Or, I'm paraphrasing there, but similar now. Wouldn't occur to him. He doesn't look like a boy that looks as though he's ever had that thought in his life. And that, I think, is the huge difference between us this season. Not our European performances, but although it's great that they've strengthened and developed and deepened, but it's taken that into the domestic game because it is slightly different. It is a puzzle. It's not just as automatic of well, you can beat these teams, but you can't beat the Dross in Scotland. They're different challenges, But I think that they've been able to almost sort of shape that now into, yeah, but that does mean we have the ability to beat all of these teams domestically, and they're now putting that into practice.
CJ, it would
Yes.
be really remiss of us not to discuss the form of James Tavernier. It would be fair to say that some quarters, and even I questioned whether or not he was battle scarred from, previous campaigns and seasons, especially after the Hearts defeat in the Cup, just before, subsequent lockdown and everything else. He got a lot of stick as captain. He's doing okay.
He's having an bad season, I think we could get a wee bit more of him. Nah, it's scary what he's actually doing now, and you look at the stats, and honestly, their FIFA numbers, you'd be proud of them if you are doing that in Ukraine mode on easy difficulty, never mind doing it in real life. What is it, 27 games, 17 goals, 13 assists? And that's even the fact that they've robbed him 2 assists, one of the own goals that he forced versus Ross County isn't counting as an assist. So he's even got more beyond those ridiculous numbers and 19 clean sheets within that as well. So he's doing his job defensively, and he's just doing a ridiculous Ronaldo-esque job going forward. But one of the main things I've actually took, and it was actually something Gerrard said in one of his post-matches over the last couple of weeks, and I don't think it's really got a lot of people talking, because I think it was just kind of like something he said half sentence. But he actually talked about Tavernier as doing his own research now for opponents. He's not waiting to be told how he wants to set up. The gaffer said that he's looking into teams and he's bringing in what he would want to do or something he's identified. And it just feels like to me, Tavernier this season, since he's came back after, has just changed his entire mindset, and he's just became just vicious with his preparation. And then you're seeing it. He's ready no matter what. If we need him to run up and down for 90 minutes, that's easily done. If we need him to be inside the 6-yard box, he will be there. And it's a true captain's performance he's doing this season. But even in saying that, you can't really put any words to the numbers that he's putting in, because nobody's ever done that before to that position. No one.
David, do we have a problem with Alfredo Morelos?
I don't think we have a problem. Depends if you're glass half full or glass half empty. Let's start with the positive, which is that Rangers aren't reliant on him anymore. And the advantage to that is that you would think theoretically should release the pressure somewhat, because had Alfredo been in the sort of form he's in at the moment this time last year, then Rangers would have struggled very badly. Whereas there is the opportunity for the manager to say to him, okay, Alfie, a couple of weeks on the bench, just you work in training, get the goals flowing in training, and then maybe bring you on when we're winning certain matches, and you can add a couple and just get your mojo back. So there's that. The negative side of it is obviously the goals have dried up. Now he does have a different role, a slightly different role, but we do have to be fair. I think that there is, and I think we've spoken about this before, I think that when anybody criticises Alfredo, because he gets so much unjust criticism from sections of the Scottish press and this weird fascination they have with this Colombian kid, that the people who are big fans of Alfie get very annoyed at any criticism of him.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a balance to be had somewhere in the middle of that. That yes, he has a different role in the team. I think it makes the team better that Alfie's being asked to move about and open up space for players, and I think that he's enjoying that, or rather the rest of the team are enjoying that. I'm not sure he is quite so much, but I think that he's doing it diligently, and that's a sign of his maturity, and he deserves credit for that. But he's missing chances. That's just a fact, and it doesn't matter where you're playing in the side. If you are missing the chances you are, yes, you might be getting less, but if you are missing the ones you are getting, then that's an issue. And I don't think if Alfie, last year he had, you probably know this, CJ, but he must have had about 20 odd by now this time last year.
That's right. I was closing in on 29.
He was closing, yeah. So even if he had, 9 or 10 at this point, then I think that it's absolutely totally valid to say, well, it's just a different role. He gets less chances. Shut it. I don't think, given that he hasn't got that many at all this year, that is quite fair. So this has always been Alfie. If we're totally honest, Alfie's never had a good season at Rangers. Alfie's had amazing halves of seasons at Rangers. And the way I choose to look at this, because I'm quite an optimistic sort, is, dear Scottish football, if Rangers are sitting 13 points clear at the top of the league and dominant, and Alfie's good half of the season still to come, you are fucked.
And that's it, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We have reached the end of this month's Rangers Review podcast, the Xmas special or the Spice Girls special, whichever floats your boat. Now, before we wrap up today's video, I just want to give a massive thank you to David from Heart and Hand, Stevie from Four Lads Had a Dream, and Tommy from This Is Ibrox. As usual, their links will be down there in the description below if you want to go ahead and support the boys and support the Rangers lads at suit there, talking some Rangers things. But if you are still here watching today's video, by the way, go ahead and shout out your man Sasa Papach in the comments just to see who the true channel legends are. But as always, ladies and gentlemen, all that's left for me today is wrap up today's video. Thank you so much for taking the hour or so out of your day to sit here and talk about Rangers things. If you got involved in the comment section below, I will be talking to you very, very shortly. And as always, I've been CJ Over 92. Thank you so much for watching, and bye.